So we have to talk about the Trump demolition, and we have to talk about the pink triangle. So where do you want to go first? The gutting of intelligence from the American people, or do you want to talk about the pink triangle? Both of them are really fucked up, um, but uh, uh, really, really fucked up. Hi, Susan. Wilkerson, good to see you again. Sarcastic Five, also good. So let me get my window going here. And I'll cordon out um, um, the two pieces we're going to talk through. No, don't do that. Um, there we go. Um, so I was reading last night, going into this morning, um, that the Trump has recently signed an executive order that reads less like administrative policy and more like I want to destroy shit. So, 7 federal agencies now face complete elimination. Um, their decades of service to American citizens deemed dispensable and irrelevant. Um, so, let's get right to it. So, the casualties of Trump's executive order are the U.S. Agency of Global Media. So, that's basically the Voice of America. That's gone now, or will be. Woodrow Wilson's International Center for Scholars, the Institute of Museum and Library Services, the United States Integrity Council on Homelessness, the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service, the Community Development Financial Institutions Fund, and the Minority Business Development Agency. So let that all sink in for just a second. Um, those are vital arteries of the government's function um, that is keeping cultural, economic, and humanitarian systems in play. And Trump literally, with a pen, waved it all away and said, fuck off. We don't need that shit anymore. So I'm just going to go through. And then on top of that, um, the Arlington National Cemetery website was scrubbed. And through that, they removed all DEI reference. They removed all reference to the Civil War, which, by the way, I found very interesting because unless somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, um, the Arlington National Cemetery, its monuments, um, and the associated resources with it were built because of the Civil War. So Voice of America. So let's start with the U.S. Agency of Global Media, which houses the Voice of America. So since 42, the Voice of America has been America's voice to the world, broadcasting in more than 40 languages at an estimated weekly audience of 311 million people. So during the Cold War, it was our beacon of truth penetrating the Iron Curtain. In regions dominated by state-controlled media, it was unfiltered news in showcases of American values. The elimination of that agency doesn't just silence America on the global stage. It abandons audiences in information-starved regions like Iran, North Korea, and Russia. It's like voluntarily cutting our own vocal cords while our adversaries continue their propaganda megaphones at full volume. So, with the death of a Voice of America, Trump has effectively neutered and gutted um, our voice to audiences outside of the U.S. So, the U.S. Agency for Global Media has been a crucial instrument of America's soft power for decades. And its elimination represents not just a retreat from global leadership, but a deliberate weakening of America's ability to counter foreign disinformation campaigns. So by eliminating that, Trump is saying misinformation is okay and fuck it. So here's the next bad part. The elimination of the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. With homelessness reaching crisis levels in many states. California, if you go to Oakland, and if anybody lives in Oakland, they can confirm this, the homeless situation in Oakland is horrible. Women of no importance, which, by the way, I don't believe that. I believe you are a woman of importance. You should change your name. This was all done through executive order. So there's likely going to be a legal challenge. Um, So, with homelessness reaching crisis levels in cities across America, that agency coordinates federal response across 19 other federal agencies and departments. Its work has been instrumental in developing evidence-based approaches to reducing homelessness against veterans, families, and other individuals. And that timing couldn't be worse. According to the most recent point-in-time count, there are more than 650,000 Americans who experience homelessness at any given night, a number that has been rising due to housing affordability crises in major urban centers and many other factors. Without the coordinating function of the Interagency Council, federal efforts will become fragmented, inefficient, and ultimately disappear because Donald Trump doesn't give two fucking shits about homeless people. Honestly, I feel like if he could, he would kill homeless people just to get rid of them. Thank you, woman of no importance. I appreciate you. And your comment might mean that I invite you into the live in a minute here because that's cool. So be sure you pay attention to the notification if I do. Now we go to cultural amputation. The Institute of Museum and Library Sciences doesn't make headlines, but its work touches communities in every corner of the U.S. That agency basically provides essential funding for libraries and museums, particularly in rural and underserved areas where those institutions serve as educational lifelines. Trump has effectively cut that off. Fuck it, cut it off. So in many small towns across America, the local library just isn't a place to borrow books and read. It's where children access the internet for their homework, where job seekers use computers for applications because they can't afford to have those resources at home, and where community members gather from everything from tax preparation assistance to English language classes. It's a cultural and education center. And Trump has basically said, nope, not important, fuck it. Museums preserve our collective heritage and bring educational opportunities to communities that might otherwise lack cultural resources. Trump says, nope, not important, fuck it. By targeting that agency, the administration isn't just cutting budgets, it's amputating American culture. It's telling rural communities, small towns, and underserved neighborhoods that their access to information and culture and community resources doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. Not one fucking bit. Makes no difference. Fuck it. By the way, if anybody's offended by the fact that I say the word fuck, it's going to happen a lot today. I normally very flavorfully use that word. I will probably be using it a little bit more in this session before it's all fucking over. I just can't. So the elimination of the Minority Business Development Agency sends an unmistakable message to entrepreneurs of color. Basically, if you're a minority, fuck you. The government doesn't care about you. So So the Minority Business Development Agency was established in 1969. That agency has been crucial in addressing the barriers that minority business owners are facing. And I apologize for all the noise in the background. People are eating food. In fiscal year 2022, the MBDA helped minority-owned businesses secure over 1.2 billion dollars in contracts and capital for their success. That's not just good for business owners. That's good for the American economy as a whole. Uh, Creating jobs and wealth in communities is we're distributing lunch because we all got up too late to eat breakfast. Sorry, everyone. The decision to eliminate the MBDA, oh, thank you, um, is comes at a time where racial wealth gaps remain subordinately wide. And they're subordinately wide in many different arenas across. The median white family has 8 times the wealth of the median POC family and 5 times the wealth of the median Hispanic family. Thank you. By dismantling one of the few federal agencies explicitly tasked with addressing these disparities, the Trump administration is effectively cementing those inequalities and will affect those inequalities across the board. The Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. So this is the Capital Financial Institutions Fund that services economically distressed communities. So they make loans to small businesses, nonprofit organizations, or affordable housing developments in areas that traditional banks overlook, redline, or even completely ignore. Since its inception, the CDFI Fund has built a nationwide network of over 1,200 independent CDFIs, which have financed more than 200,000 affordable housing units, provided loans to countless small businesses that create low-income communities and generate funding, and affordable housing. For every dollar the CDFI fund awards, CDFIs leverage $12 in private capital, making this is one of the most efficient uses of federal dollars for economic development. And by eliminating that fund, it doesn't just cut a line item into a budget. It pulls the rug out from under communities that are working to build economic self-sufficiency. That abandons the principle that all Americans, regardless of their zip code, regardless of the community they live in, regardless of where in the U.S. they live, and how they're easily serviced or not serviced by their resources in their locale, the need to start businesses, buy homes, and build wealth, because everyone has that right. So Trump's executive order isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a broader government overhaul. Oh, by the way, I want to share this with everybody. Since I am such an ardent disliker of Musk and his Doge bullshit, that's the Doge tracker, which literally is tracking all of the money that apparently the Doge organization is finding and eliminating. And you should read that and look over it. It's basically Doge hasn't done shit. And so anyway, that's a side note. Comment amongst yourselves. So the executive order isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a broader context, especially that involves Elon Musk's participation in identifying spending and workforce cuts. I mean, the world's richest man, whose companies have received billions in government subsidies and contracts, is now advising on how to gut public services, either so he can get more money or because he's trying to democratically save the government from itself. Musk's involvement adds another dimension to the entire aspect of Trump's gutting of those agencies. His public statements are increasingly aligned to far-right narratives. I should point out that the Australian government has since come out and said that if Musk attempts to influence their election, they will arrest him and put him in jail for 5 years, no questions asked. And they will lobby the U.S. to extradite him to do so. This is where we are. So the fox isn't just in the henhouse. Musk was invited to redesign all this shit. And he has a direct tunnel to the fucking dinner table. That represents dangerous confusion on private interests and public service. Billionaires with specific agenda gain, and they gain unprecedented influence over institutions designed to serve all Americans, not just Musk, which Musk isn't even fucking American, so why the fuck are we even talking about this? So, beyond the efficiency of an ideological agenda, I mean, let's be honest, what is this really about? If the goal were truly government efficiency, the approach would involve careful evaluation of programs, consolidation of overlapping functions, and targeted reforms. Musk is trying to run the government like a fucking startup. And that's why he's constantly, I hate using the term, cock-blocked by the government to make those changes, because you can't run a bureaucracy the same way that you can run a startup. It doesn't happen that way. This isn't about saving money. The combined budgets of those agencies are rounding errors in federal spending. It's about ideology. It's about dismantling the parts of the government that promote pluralism and diversity and international engagement and economic opportunity. It's about isolationism. It's about control. Thank you, Amber. Please be safe if you're dealing with storms. It's about reshaping the government to serve a narrower vision of America, one that's isolated, less diverse, and less committed to equal opportunity, that services the people who benefit from it. Oh, erasable ink. I definitely might pick on you here in a minute. So what's the human cost? Behind the bureaucratic language of agency eliminations, whose people's lives are really upended and now face unemployment. I mean, I drove by the CDC yesterday. I live in Atlanta. I drove through the Emory neighborhood. The CDC's right there, and literally, I shit you not, there were 1,000 people all standing in front of the CDC with signs: "Stop the purge," "Stop Trump," "Thank you, Trump, for measles," "Thank you, Trump, for this," everything else. There are large bodies of individuals who are at light and en masse, protesting this bullshit. So what do I even think about? So think about the librarian in rural Appalachia who uses the grants that the government gives her to serve public internet to the people that grace the library. Consider the homeless veteran in Seattle whose path to housing runs through programs coordinated by that council. Picture a black entrepreneur in Detroit who has finally secured financing for her business through federal funding. That's all fucking gone now. It's dead. It's gone. It's over. And it's all thanks to Donald Trump. These aren't abstract budget items. These are American lives and American livelihoods. People trying to seek life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they had that opportunity, and now they don't. And it's gone. Um, the 7-day timeline for the compliance reports reveals a callous disregard for human consequences of these decisions. It suggests the administration views these public servants as not as dedicated professionals, but as disposable pawns for their own fucked up game. And here we are, yet again, another stage of watching democracy go completely under demolition. So what the fuck do we do? So as the demolition of those agencies goes forward, um, several responses are essential. Legal challenges have to continue. The ACLU and the SPLC and GLAD and PFLAG and all those organizations are all Land Illegal. They are all lining up to legally challenge the federal government and the federal government's choice to do this shit. But more importantly, Americans across the political spectrum um, need to decide what government they want. What government do we as a people want? Um, do we want institutions that preserve cultural heritage? I do. Um, are we willing to abandon these commitments in service of an ideological agenda? I'm not. I'm a druid. I want to go to the parks and green spaces. Those are important to me. Um, are they important to Donald Trump? No. Donald Trump gutted the federal parks, um, the federal parks and recreation services. He didn't give a shit about those either. The elimination of those 7 agencies, along with all of the other eliminations that have been going on. Oh, Thomas, thank you very much. I very much appreciate your support. Thank you. And Thomas, I want to say I'm very sorry about what's happening in South Africa. Um, I read the report about the South African ambassador to the U.S. and how Marco Rubio basically kicked him out, said, "Don't come back. You're a race baiting, blah 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 blah. Fuck you. Don't come back to the U.S." That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. That a my Secretary of State has told your ambassador from your country to never come back into my country and then used racist overtones to indicate why that was the case. It's fucking bullshit, and it shouldn't happen. So it just isn't bad policy. We are dealing with the existential threat to America that generations have built and defended. And we should be furious about it, and I'm furious about it. I lay awake at night, every night, being pissed off about it. So I'll leave the live open for 5 minutes for questions or comments. Before we go to my next orange shitler piece, which I'm really, really fucking mad about, and I'm really, really going to be completely vulgar about. So if you don't want to hear me cuss up a fucking storm about it, don't watch it. I will say, I always try to offer this in the live sessions. If anybody can guess the 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 make, model, and color of my college car, I will comp that person a 90-day. If you get the make and model, I'll comp you a 30-day paid sub to the publication. If you get the make, model, and color, I'll give you a 90-day comped sub to the publication. So again, questions whilst I go and try to find somebody to pick on. By the way, does anybody like this dress? I like this dress a whole lot, actually. I'm very happy with it. So, I'm such a bitch. Yeah, they do. And two, from a larger perspective, irascible is the fact that Trump continuing to gut intelligence centers like libraries and museums and all this other shit is him feeding into the idiocracy of a country he's trying to run as an idiocracy. He's literally trying to decrease the level of intelligence that Americans have so that he can remain in power. I mean, yeah, I agree. Um, you know, the fact of the matter is, um, the stupider he makes people, the more likely they are to vote for him. During the NATO meeting, um, he even told the NATO Secretary General or whatever that he uses transgender people like me to rile up his base, and that ensures that he will get what he wants. Um, yeah, woman of no importance. I completely agree. I mean, literally and totally. Literally, totally, and utterly. Now, I'm just going to warn you, in about 3 minutes, I'm going to start talking about Nazis. So, if you don't want to hear about Nazis, don't listen to me talk about Nazis. But I'm going to talk about Nazis in what can only be described as a Godwin's Law like reference. Only I'm not having an argument with anybody, so nobody can invoke Godwin's Law on me. Um, Hopefully there are people in this live that understand what Godwin's Law is or the sensibility to go on the internet and look up Godwin's Law so you know what the fuck I'm talking about before I start talking about goddamn Nazis. Oh, there we go.
I look terrible this morning.
No, don't. Look,
This is terrible.
look. I don't look. I'm a trans woman. I don't do my makeup like 90% of the time, so I always look like shit. So I'll just make you look good.
No. No. It's a Saturday though. What do these people expect from me?
Well, okay, so you're in the live, so for 4 minutes, you literally can ask me any question.
So, well, I have statements and questions. I am a poor white woman from the South, and I got educated and got the hell out of my impoverished community.
Well, wait. So wait, where in the South are? I have to ask, where in the South?
Yeah. So I'm from Kentucky.
Okay.
I was born to a woman who was raped. Was a bastard child. Nobody expected anything from me.
Right.
And my name is Cassandra, so that's just a whole quagmire. But I got educated and got out of that place. And every time I go back, I ask my family, how can you live this way? How can you not expect more? How can you not want more? Why are you not a lifelong learner when they're demolishing our institutions? I mean, I went on, okay, so I worked for state government, went on to federal government, worked for FEMA. I helped impoverished and blighted communities rebuild after disasters. And unfortunately, we had to wait until a hurricane or something occurred. But these communities are already blighted. Um, and I lost my job during Trump's last term because he's not having any of that. He doesn't
Right.
want anybody to benefit from any federal program. I married a man who is a catastrophic planner, and he ran the FEMA lab, and he did process streamlining and to coordinate all agencies so that they can do their jobs. So
Right.
what happened? Trump came in and fired him. So they limited our capabilities as a nation back in 2016, 17. And now they're going in acting like they're going to make things better. Are you kidding me? You fired the whole staff that was doing that because catastrophic disasters doesn't just mean natural, it means man made. And these are
Right.
all man made. And my husband's been blacklisted since 2017. And so all of this fuckery, all the people that die, it's just an abomination. And I can't believe, because there's so many Republicans in that field, that they would sit by idly because they know what happened to my husband. My husband's a goddamn legend. His name, you hear his name, and everybody knows that he's the man. When shit goes down, he's the one. And they silenced us. They silenced so many people. So here we are, Florida, fucking, excuse my fucks, but it's going to be there. California, we could have saved billions. We could have saved lives, and they don't give a shit. So when Elon says, I'm coming to streamline this, bitch, please. You actually cut our capabilities, and now we can't do anything. We can't protect our own people, and we live in the Pacific Northwest. So now all our forests are going to be logged. And every time I bring it up in my community, even here, all of our SAR people, search and rescue, they're just being quiet, but they know we're going to lose our forests. And then what's going to happen? The whole damn Northwest is going to burn down. So what do these people think? When is this going to stop? I mean, we're going to have in Seattle, this whole area on the west, our state's going to burn down, and they don't give it. They don't care. They
They
don't
don't.
care.
They
So
don't.
how do we fight back? I mean, people don't get it. They act like, oh, if I just stay home and don't make any waves, it's all gonna work out. No, it is not. It is not working out. Things are gonna get so bad. We used to do the FEMA camps because we did them for people who were displaced. Now they're doing it to put us in prison. Are you kidding me? This is where we're at, people, and it's not getting better. It's going to get exponentially worse. And anybody sitting at home thinking, oh, they won't come for me. When you get hungry because your parents no longer have Social Security, there's no SNAP, there's no nothing. Your kids, schools are not going to be funded. MAGA bully kids are going to start beating the crap out of whoever they deem unworthy today. It's already bad here in the Pacific Northwest, and we're a democratically run state. I just don't get why people are sitting at home. I mean, I actually don't do lives. I mean, as you can tell, I'm never ready. But I mean, we got to get it together. If we don't fight back now, I mean, libraries, when the power goes out during a disaster, where do people go? They go to the libraries because that's who has the generators. I mean, we had just a power outage that happens all the time because of high winds. This was our meeting place. People didn't know where to get candles, food, this, that, the other. The elderly, we found out what people needed. These are hubs in our community, and children who are born to parents of low education. It's not a bad thing, but then they aren't curious. They aren't lifelong learners. They're too busy trying to make ends meet. I understand, but their kids are not going to have a chance now because they don't have parents who turn them on to anything. I mean, Caldecott books, all the books our kids need to be reading, they're not. I mean, mine are, but some of these kids aren't, and their heads are full of nonsense. And now we've got ADHD. Come on, people. You can't get rid of every hub that would help diversify our community and then just expect it all to work out in the end because Elon said so with a chainsaw. I mean, give me a break. Sorry.
That's okay. I have I completely agree with you 100%. Two, actually have a question because you're a female person. You can answer this.
Yeah.
I want to know if this is true. Is there really a thing called the Waffle House Index?
You know, I don't know. They've got a FEMA logo that says females something about a fuck group. I mean, there's all kinds of rumors with FEMA. I mean, we did go to Waffle House sometimes because we go into communities where there's no food and water, and there would be a
Right.
few. Right, but I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. Those rumors are. They
You
probably
know
do.
that like when FEMA goes into a town, if they go to a Waffle House and the Waffle House is not open,
Uh,
that means the shit really has hit the fan, and so
oh, yeah. Probably. Heck. But
yeah.
we do the MREs or the ready made meals and water. I mean, we do bring in some food. My husband used to do that before they. Um, but no, we would support a restaurant to maybe open for the community, but not for
Right,
FEMA.
right.
What the heck? We're just
Well, I mean, Waffle Houses were literally meant to take a nuclear. Those buildings are built to take a nuclear attack.
yeah. We fund like a dual shelter, but it's usually in a school, church, or something that's a hub. But hell, maybe. I mean, they look well built. I love waffles, so you know.
Nah, what's not to love?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
well,
I mean, I mean, I love your work. I'll tell you that it's great, and your writing is insightful and draws on so many things that are being left out, like the old ways, a perspective from a trans person. I love it. So don't stop.
no, no, no. I tell everybody, I'm 52 years old. I've been a druid for a long time. I will always do that. I'm a mother. I have 3 kids. Um, I am a stand-in mother for
Yeah,
numerous individuals. I tell all community, if you need a mom to stand in, I will stand in with you. Um, and um, and then on top of that, yeah, I don't sleep well at night. And when I don't sleep well at night, I go and read shit. And then when I read shit, then I go and I voice to texting shit into my phone and my iPad. And then I get up in the morning and I have all this huge body of text. And then I use Grammarly to kind of help me organize it all. And that's how I write.
yeah,
I
that's
basically,
genius.
yeah,
That's
I just brain dump shit 2 and
at
3 hours at night because I'm fucking pissed off about it. Um,
voice to
and
text is amazing. For those who are having trouble writing, just speak, babe, and just
well, I'll
link
tell
it
you,
up.
the person that hates it is Miranda, my editor.
Uh, well, it makes her job easier, sort of, because Grammarly helps, and then we clean it all up, you know.
Yeah, but she's the one, and very hilariously, I hired her to be my editor, and I told her, I'm like, you have to keep me from cussing, and she's like, no, you should do it more.
Yeah. For people that can't handle an F bomb in these times, you've got problems. I can't.
there's there's much larger
Yeah,
problems than that you should be focused on.
exactly.
Um,
So, but I mean, our libraries here are a godsend, and we actually kind of do planned communities here. I know people don't like that, but they put a library in the center of not impoverished, but vulnerable populations. I'm trying to use the
no,
federal.
I'm completely supportive of that.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're all together. If we can't solve our problems now, like it's not going to happen, and all the resources are there. So it's amazing. If we did this all over the U.S., it would be great. But now rural communities are going to lose their library, and what are they going to do? They're going to sit at home on the internet and go through their silo chambers of bullshit. I mean, ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. Well, woman of no importance, Cassandra. Thank you very much for your.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and keep doing the work. You're awesome.
I'll do it every day.
Okay. See you soon, dear.
Hmm? Oh, wow, that was special. Thank you again, Cassandra. Thank you again, by the way, Cassandra, for your support of the publication. Thank you all for your support of the publication. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you guys. Um, Free or paid, whatever. Your presence here helps me get through and keep doing the shit that I'm doing. So now, now we're gonna fucking talk about Nazis. So I'm gonna go on ahead and drop this into the chat because I didn't send it to the list, so everybody can read it. Camhurst, we talked about at the beginning Trump gutting a number of federal agencies that he has no business cutting, and now we're going to talk about Nazis. So this one's going to be a history lesson. So uh, if you don't understand these parallels, you will understand these parallels after this conversation is over. I promise you. Uh, so Trump hates a lot of shit, and Trump hates more and more shit every day. Um, but what does he really hate? He really hates uh, queer, gay, lesbian, and transgender individuals. So basically, the LGBTQI plus community. So, and there's a reason for this. Well, I suspect there is a reason for this. So, Nazis didn't just hate gay and transgender people; they criminalized them through a complex web of laws and regulations designed to make um, our existence in Nazi Germany impossible. Section 175 of the German Criminal Code expanded under Nazi rule to criminalize male homosexual contact, led to thousands of arrests and ultimately unaliving events. Medical classifications were changed to pathologize gender nonconformity. It was a whole shitload of fucked up shit. So the reason for all of this is that on True Social, very recently, Trump posted and then deleted a pink triangle symbol, which is an old symbol that was used by Nazi Germany to identify queer individuals during the Nazi Germany era. So um, they filed briefs that Title VII doesn't protect gay or transgender employees. They've removed health care protections. They have continued to rule against housing and education. They've banned all of us trans people from the military. We can't actively serve. Um, I've heard recently that they are going to try to ban trans persons from donating blood. I want to know how that's going to fucking happen. But literally, Trump is categorically trying to erase all queer and LGBTQI plus identity from the United States, and that's a legal assault. Um, but it's exactly what the Nazis did in the German Nazi era. Um, um, they started with legal discrimination that made being queer increasingly vulnerable. They stripped away protections one by one, making it harder and harder for targets to work, find housing, or access health care. Um, they made those of us that were queer in Nazi Germany increasingly desperate and marginalized before moving to even larger set of uh, ventures. The Trump administration has been marching down the exact same path with the determination that should make all of us fucking upset and stop dead in our tracks. Their lawfare against queer individuals like myself um, isn't just about religious freedoms and traditional values. It's about creating a framework of persecution and legal structure that can be used to justify an even higher level of aggressive actions against people like myself. Um, it's all a fucking witch hunt. Um, so um, the Trump administration's obsession with erasing trans individuals from public life, it's a fixation so intense and systemic that it can only be compared to Nazi-era Germany. The Department of Health and Human Services under Trump have been working to legally define gender as a binary and immutable, determined only by genitalia at birth. And that was an EO that happened very early in Trump's administration. And it was a move designed to legally erase my existence from all American society. So, following Trump's directives and rationales, I shouldn't even exist. So, you're probably not really talking to a real person. You're really talking to something that doesn't exist by the Trump American standard. Um, so, maybe don't listen to me because I'm not real and you're not actually really talking to a real person, at least as far as Trump is concerned. Um, Trump's Department of Education revoked Obama-era guidance protecting transgender students, leaving vulnerable kids and trans persons younger than myself to harassment and discrimination. The Nazis did the same thing. They purged the schools of any materials or teachers that acknowledged gender diversity or orientation diversity. The Justice Department under Trump has reversed positions on transgender workplace protections. I no longer have workplace protections in my workplace. Um, as a trans person now, um, you know, where I work can discriminate against me as a trans woman, and they would never be federally accountable. Housing and urban development, they removed protections for trans persons like myself in homeless shelters. So if I ever became homeless, I could be denied the privilege to seek to seek out a homeless shelter. Um, and let's not forget the military ban. I'm no longer allowed to serve in the U.S. military as a trans person. And the only way that I can serve in the U.S. military is if I detransition, stop my hormone replacement therapy, um, and deny the fact that I was ever a trans person. If I did those three things, I could serve in the military. Is that going to happen? Fuck no. Now it's never going to happen. I tell people this: a death before I detransition. Um, I know that sounds draconian and bad, but no, I am not going back to where I was before I transitioned from a physical perspective as much from an emotional and mental perspective. Um, so um, I'm just going to cut right to the fucking bullshit right away. When the president of the United States shares imagery that directly echoes Nazi concentration camp symbolism, we're not witnessing somebody that's misstepping. Uh, uh, we're watching history repeat itself with terrifying precision that should make every single one of us vomit in our throats and then burn our throat raw with all that vomit as we spew it onto the fucking floor. Um, Trump's recent sharing of an article featuring an upside down pink triangle crossed out by a red no symbol isn't just offensive. It's an air raid siren screaming at the democracy for which there was a time in which a country had seen that before and under those exact same circumstances. So those who slept through history class, Trump, um, choose to forget. The upside down pink triangle wasn't just an arbitrary design by the Third Reich, it was a death sentence. If you were labeled with one of those symbols, it would get you killed. It would literally get you killed. It was a methodical way to identify and isolate and exterminate gay and queer people in concentration camps where their bodies could be worked into skeletal husks before being tossed into a pit and shot. Which, make no mistake, um, that's what Trump wants to do to people like me. Trump doesn't want people like me to be free or to live. Uh, he wants me dead, and he wants me to disappear, and he wants trans persons like me to be not part of the U.S. I'm not a U.S. citizen by his standards. So, um, back to Nazi Germany, approximately 15,000 gay men were sent to concentration camps and killed, um, decaying decaying hope in that community away to nothing. Um, it was systemic, and it was an annihilation executed with German efficiency and cold-blooded precision of that time. And the Nazis didn't stop there. Um, they burned the Institute for Sexual Wissenschaft, which is basically the Institute for Understanding Sexual Assault, which destroyed the world's first transgender and queer research facility and set back transgender healthcare by decades. And this was in 40s Germany. Um, they obliterated Magnus Hirschfeld's pioneering work to gender variance and sexuality. He was deemed an enemy of the state and killed. Transgender people were thrown into the same camps that the Jews and other minorities were thrown into and killed. The Nazis weren't just homophobes. They were determined to eradicate any form of gender or sexual expression that did not fit the rigid confines of Nazi ideology, which basically meant if you were a woman, you had to keep having Aryan babies, and if you didn't keep having Aryan babies, then you were sidelined and you were forced to stop reproducing. And here we fucking are, watching the President of the United States casually toss out a pink triangle symbol as like it's a joke, or it's a misstep, or I didn't mean to do that. Uh, let that really marinate in your fucking head as to how fascistic and Nazi-like our current president is. Um, the same pink triangle that marked men for torture and execution, now being shared by tiny hands but shits his pants. It's fucking wrong. It's stupid. It's infuriating. I can't get angry enough about this. I'll put it that way. Uh, so when confronted with the grotesque display, Trump's camp was pathetically predictable and reeking of epic bullshit. White House spokesperson deflected by highlighting Trump's supposed support for the Jewish community, a claim so fucking hollow that you could use it as a goddamn echo chamber where millions of people would hear the same thing over and over again. Um, classic Trump playbook. Dodge, deflect, distract, like a magician pulling a blood-soaked rabbit out of his fucking hat. If Trump does something that goes against what everyone else is saying, oh, I didn't say that, it wasn't me. Oh, that was a mistake. Oh, that was Stephen Miller, my communications director. What makes that incident particularly vile in context is the article shared from the Washington Times argued that the military had shifted away from LGBTQ plus pride and recruitment ads, and that message was clear. Trump's vision of America has no room for LGBTQ plus individuals. It just does not. And this isn't an isolated incident. It's not. The Trump administration is on a 4-year assault of LGBTQ plus rights that reads like a goddamn checklist for persecution. Remember how he banned trans people from the military with his words? How his administration argued against LGBT plus Q persons and individuals, while at the same time turning around and going on to the national media and saying, I polled really well with LGBTQ plus persons and trans persons. I polled well with them. I got elected because of them. Bullshit. So every one of the policies that mirrors the Nazi approach for first excluding, demonizing, and then ultimately attempting to erase people like me from American society is not just a comparison to Nazi Germany's efforts, it's a fucking parallel, and it's a parallel that's following the way up. Um, the LGBT plus Q Jewish organization Keshet expressed horror at Trump's communications. Horror, not concern, not disappointment, horror, because it's wrong. Um, so it's all just a blueprint of oppression. And this is where we are. So gradually, Trump will continue to normalize anti-queer, gay, lesbian, and transgender extremism. One of the most insidious aspects of fascism's rise through the 30s and 1930s in Germany, and even now in contemporary America, is the gradual normalization of extremist views. As extremist views increase, those extremist views become normalized, and that normalization affects societal norm. I mean, I don't know if anybody's taken a sociology class, but that's sort of how that works. When Trump entered into the political scene, his comments about Mexican immigrants being rapists and criminals and drug dealers and all this other shit permeated us well into the situation now where they are literally ready to initiate the Alien Enemies Act of 1789 to claim that all immigrants in the U.S. that are not white, European, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people are part of an invasion and use the military to deport them without due process. Have an article about that too. Uh, why it's a constitutional dumpster fire, why you should read it, and why you should understand exactly what's happening there. Because it's fucking huge. Here's the problem. Trump can do all this shit. He can say all this shit. And he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Um, and he can say whatever the fuck he wants. Um, But the real problem is the complicity of silence. So the most damning parallel between Nazi Germany and Trump's America is the complicity of those who remain silent. His supporters don't give a shit. His supporters don't care. Or if they do care, they're not being vocal. So when Trump shares Nazi symbolism and Republican leadership says nothing, they're complicit. Fuck them. When media outlets treat it as just another blunder or blip in Trump's behavior, they're complicit. Fuck them. When ordinary citizens shrug it off as that's Trump being Trump, that's just locker room talk. That Trump doesn't mean that. Um, those people are complicit. Silence in the face of fascism is not neutrality; it's permission, and it's wrong. In Nazi Germany, many people uh, convinced themselves that um, they were just staying out of politics and they weren't getting involved, um, and that the regime's actions did not affect them personally at the time. That's how they ended up with Hitler. Sound familiar? How many times have we heard people dismiss Trump's most egregious behavior as just talk, or it's political theater, or he doesn't really mean it? He won't be a dictator on day one. Um, he won't do this, he won't do that. My partner is playing Overwatch in the background, by the way. I should just warn everybody. Um, the same people who would probably explain away the smoke and alarms as Trump just being dramatic, um, while their house burns down around them because they're too stupid to realize that's what the fuck is happening. Those people are complicit. And it's dangerous. It's like watching someone inject poison into democracy's veins while half the country argues whether the needle is really that sharp at all or if the needle even fucking exists. Fake news. I don't think the needle exists. Not real. Um, so we then even have a larger problem. And so when Hitler rose to power, he had brown shirts um, who served as paramilitary force. Social media and those who control social media have become the digital brown shirt. Am I going to be a digital brown shirt? No, that fucker wants to erase me. That fucker wants to erase me and kill me. Honestly, if I died tomorrow, Trump would not give two shit a licks. He probably would be happy because it would be one less trans person who would be in the world. That is why I continue to do all this shit. Why I'm yelling and screaming into the void where all of you can hear it, and we can try to survive this shit. Um, so Trump has masterfully weaponized Twitter, X, Zitter, um, because it's owned by Elon Musk. So it's Twitter is now an echo chamber for Musk and Trump to say whatever the fuck they want, and that body of people will continue to listen to it. The digital brown shirt phenomenon creates a feedback loop of extremism. Um, Trump posts something outrageous, his supporters defend it and amplify it. Mainstream conservatives feel pressured to accept it, and then the boundaries of acceptable discourse shift once again in the wrong direction. Um, the Nazis understood the power of propaganda and used every available technology, radio, film, print media, to spread that message. So they understood that, um, which created the vulnerability of democracy. Um, both Nazi Germany and Trump's America demonstrate a crucial truth. Democracy is fragile. The Weimar Republic had a constitution, democratic elections, and supposedly safeguards against tyranny. Hitler brought all of that down, and very quickly, in 53 days. Um, Trump has shown a similar contempt for democratic norms and institutions, from pressuring election officials to find votes to inciting an insurrection to stop the certification of a legal vote for him independently. And what makes this particularly dangerous is that democracies rarely die dramatically. They don't typically end with military coups or violent revolutions. Instead, as scholars like Stephen Levitsky and Ziblatt argue in their book How Democracies Die, they erode gradually through seemingly legal actions taken by elected leaders. And by the time society realizes what's happening, it's too late, it's fucking gone, and it's fucking over. So how do we deal with this shit? History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it does rhyme. The patterns of fascism rose in Nazi Germany, and they're rising again through Trump's actions as a clarity that should alarm any normal individual that's paying attention. From weaponization of symbols, to the targeting of communities, to the erosion of democratic norms, to the complicity of those who remain silent. And those people are remaining silent, and they are complicit. Your neighbor who's got his Trump flag hanging in his window, he doesn't give a shit about you, especially if you're a queer person, a minority person, or any other than a person than Trump wants you to be. Doesn't give a shit. And that guy is complicit in that behavior against you. And not that I believe in the Antichrist, because I don't, or anything necessarily biblical, because I don't. Yes, I agree. Trump is the closest thing to the fictional Antichrist than there probably has ever been. The Nazi persecution of queer people didn't happen overnight. It began with rhetorical demonization, uh, demonizing them as threats to children and national identity. That happened over a period of time. Trump's systematic attack on queer and trans individuals follows the same trajectory of that terrifying precision, from banning us from the military, stripping our health care protections, from arguing on employment discrimination, to removing educational safeguards, all of it. We stand at a crossroads similar to the one faced by the Germans in the early 1930s. And we can recognize the warning signs and take action, or we can convince ourselves that it's not really that bad. You're very welcome, Rebecca. I'm just upset about it. And because I'm upset about it, not just because I'm affected by it, I am affected by it, but also there are other people. We're all affected by it. Um, so we stand at a crossroads. Are we going to let the Weimar Republic fall happen again? And yeah, my partner's playing Overwatch. That means she's pissed off and she's cussing. Sad part about it is my kid over here is doing the same thing. Um, yeah, exactly. We're all together in this. Um, so the pink triangle once marked people for death. Later, it was reclaimed as a symbol of resilience and pride. Today, Trump is using it as a way to iterate that he does not want queer and LGBT plus individuals to exist in this country. And as a person who is a queer and trans person, um, that means he wants to erase me. And if he erases me, then you guys can't have me anymore to sit around and listen to me rant and rave like a lunatic about how this pisses me off and makes me angry. And I don't want that for any of you because I would prefer to be around so that you can listen to me rant and rave because I have a voice and I have the freedom to use that voice. And until they shut me down, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop talking about it. So, questions. People can now ask me whatever the fuck they want. Camhurst, I immensely appreciate your defense of me, and I am thankful. And nobody has commented on my like purpley tartan dress today, but I think it's cute. So, oh, here we go. Uh, I'm gonna hit somebody new. I'm gonna hit somebody new, and we're gonna see how that flies. Also, standing the standing challenge is up. If you guess the car that I drove in college, you have to get the make, model, and year. And if you get the color, so if you get the make, model, and year, I will comp you a paid subscription to the publication for 30 days. If you get the color, I'll give you a 90-day paid sub to the publication for free. Um, despite um, yeah, Diane, it's never going to happen. I mean, it really isn't ever going to happen. Not on my watch, at least. I mean, so somebody throw out uh, a that's it. Camhurst, you're really trying. So that's actually last night for the live session. Um, the, the it's not an '87 Corvette. Although I will tell you that when I bought the car at the time, I had three cars I was bidding on, and this was in the early '90s. Um, and basically, the one of the cars that I bid on was a '72 Daytona Corvette, which was beige. So that was the long roadster with the weird curve Corvette. Um, and the bid I got on it was like $1,400, and I lost it. And the second bid I made, that was the car I ended up driving through college. Um, and if somebody gets it right, I will tell the story about that car and why it's fucking funny. Um, but as of yet, there have been I'd say between 50 and 60 or 70 guesses, and people have gotten close to it, but nobody's gotten it right. Um, so until somebody gets it right, I won't tell the story about that car. But I will also be handing a paid comped sub to thistleandmoss.com if somebody gets it right. Um, yes, relatively esoteric. And I'm 52, so that should tell you something. Just for that, Laura, I'm going to poke on you. Oops. Everyone's going to have to forgive me as I'm doing my morning medications round at 12 o'clock because I woke up so late. I'm glad you asked that question, Esoteric. I currently drive a 2023 Nissan Leaf. People are free to judge me for driving a Leaf. I would never drive a Tesla. I hate Elon Musk, so um, so um, uh, but I do drive an EV, so people are welcome to judge me for driving an electric vehicle, as people are so often going to do anyway. Oh, Camrist. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. An SL600 with a V12. Um, here's the thing. Um, it, that's isn't that the model that Mercedes? It's not a true V12. It's basically two sixes on one cam, but they market it as a V12 anyway. Um, uh, EDM. I'm gonna sound like a very stupidly horrible young person. What the fuck is EDM? EDM. My child indicates to me that EDM is electronic dance music. I feel I feel horribly out of touch. Wait, you mean like Dead Mouse? Dead Mouse would be electronic dance music? Okay, fuck. You know what? I worry about the youth of today. Um, I worry about the youth of today. I really do. All right. Well, if nobody's going to guess the car make and model, then I will close for the day. May go again in the evening after my afternoon publications come out. I will tell everybody that is a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber to the subscribe. Um, I thought Two Live Crew was a New York band. You sure about that? Uh, they were formed in Miami. I did not. I don't. Yeah, I don't listen to her. She's just. Uh, okay, so Laura, here's a hint about the car. So the car was manufactured pre 1980. Yeah, pre 1980. Camera Straight. Yeah, Underground is still in Atlanta. Although Underground now is really sort of used as a event space more than it's used as a like bustling restaurant and entertainment space. Very recently, I don't want to say like 4 years ago, um, they hosted a Banksy exhibit there that I went to see. So Banksy is the graffiti, like nobody knows who the fuck he is, graffiti artist. Camera's Rick, you're getting close, but that's not it. You're getting close. That's not it. Laura, 1970 Oldsmobile 442. Oh, that car. But no, that's not it. Oh, I love this too much. You guys that read uh, my pub, you guess this shit. Here's the thing. I'm just gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna publish an article today, um, and I'm gonna send it to the pub as a contest, where I literally ask this question. So everybody will get a chance to comment on it until somebody gets it. Um, and then all the fun I'm going to have to try to figure out who gets it if somebody does get it. Um, but as soon as this live is over, there is going to be a small 2 paragraph post to the pub. Guess the car I drove in college, um, and then you'll I'll give away a free comped sub to the publication for 90 days if somebody gets it. Oh gosh, excuse me. Um, so I will now close the live. Um, thank you all. I do want to again reiterate, if you're a paid subscriber, thank you. Camera strict, nope, still not. Um, uh, yeah, they're playing Overwatch. Don't listen to them. They don't respect my live space. I'm a mom. That's just how it is. If you're a paid subscriber, thank you. You are contributing to my profession, and I'm trying to do this as a profession. Oh, thank you. That's my little. People ask about this necklace all the time. If you look at the necklace, you should just sort of be able to tell what that is. Yes, those are the colors of the trans flag. Um, so if you're a paid subscriber to the sub, thank you. Um, you basically pay my living wages by doing so. Um, um, because this is what I'm doing for my profession. Thank you, CD. I love the dress. The dress is cute. It's tartany. Um, if you're a free subscriber, I always say consider being a monthly subscriber. But if not, I get it. Um, but thank you, and share everything that I write with as many people as you can. We have to get the word out. Um, And I want to tell all of you um, that um, um, uh, if you're not in a safe space, please get to a safe space. Um, if you need help, um, there's not a lot of things I can do, but I know a lot of people that can do things. That's one of the reasons that I do the publication, is to outreach to people. Um, so um, just be aware that I love you all, um, and you are loved. All of you are loved, and you all have value, and you're all valid. Um, if you forget that, just keep telling yourself that over and over again, because you are. You are as worthy of those love feelings and emotions as I am, um, and I I feel like you should all be aware of it, and stay strong, because that's the only way we get through this shit, is together. Uh, so the live will go up as soon as Substack makes it available, um, and stay safe out there.